Today the theme is going to be very much about energy and the environment and food and drink. That is a very long title, but the red thread and the common theme between both of these roles are sustainability. And what's particularly interesting about Mimi and Alex is they come very much from a community-based career path, and they're both doing very interesting things in sectors that are only going to get bigger as we go forward, because the issue of sustainability, as everybody is becoming more and more aware of, is increasingly becoming more important in the corporate world. And we've got some two very nice projects that they're going to be talking about. I think what we'll do is I will get both of the speakers to just introduce yourself and give your job title. And then after that, we'll go into some short presentations from you both, so you can just share your career story. And we'll start with Alex first and then follow with Mimi. Okay, so Alex, can you tell us what it is you do, who you work for?
Thank you very much. So my name is Alex Mayers and I am the Head of Operations for the Good Food Institute Europe. Do you want me to continue now or introduce Mimi first?
I'll introduce Mimi first and then we'll come back and hear from you. Okay, Mimi, your turn.
Hi,
your job?
So my name is Mimi Mwasame and I'm the Community Liaison Manager at MVV Environment Baldovi. We are located in Dundee.
Okay, great. So, Alex, tell us a little bit about the Good Food Institute, please, and what you do.
So the Good Food Institute is a charity. We're set up originally in the US. We're only about 5 years old in the US and we are growing really quickly. So basically, I'll tell you a bit of a story that kind of got me into this and it will help to explain a bit about what we do. So a few years ago, I was visiting some family and we went for a walk to a little area not far from where they lived. They called it the pig farm loop. So I was thinking, okay, cool, we'll go for a walk around the pig farm. And so off we went for a bit of a walk. As we were walking, someone in the family just said, there it is, there's the pig farm, and carried on walking. And I looked at this building and I thought, that's not a pig farm. I was expecting to see, animals with grass, with troughs, pigs kind of milling around, having fun, playing together. And it just wasn't that at all. It was a big concrete building, absolutely silent, not a human around there, not an animal to be seen, completely clean, completely sterile, no cars even, and a big barbed wire fence all around the edge of it. It was really well hidden. And I just looked at that and my jaw just dropped and I was thinking,
oh, 1 second, you seem to be muted, Alex. Can you unmute
sorry,
yourself?
there we go. Apologies. I keep being muted. So as I was trying to understand a little bit more about what pig farming really is, it started to become really apparent to me what the problems were. So, particularly in the UK, we have basically factory farms where animals are all stuffed together in very small confined spaces. It's very bad for the animals, it's very bad for their welfare, but it's also very bad for the environment. It creates big challenges in terms of trying to feed these animals at scale, big challenges in terms of the carbon footprint of those animals. And of course, when you have that many so close together, it causes lots of problems where they need antibiotics all the time. So you and I might get antibiotics only if we're sick. These animals, because they can get sick so easily in that kind of environment, they're given antibiotics literally every day, which causes big problems with resistance to antibiotics, which will affect all of us in the future too. So all of these issues started to build up, and I was thinking, okay, what do we do? What's the solution here? So the Good Food Institute in the US a few years ago was basically started to look at the supply chain of how we get our food. So at the moment, a lot of our food, we just don't really understand where it comes from. We have this almost like children's picture book image in our heads of what farming looks like and where animals and meats come from. Often if we buy chicken or something in the supermarket, it doesn't look like chicken at all. It just looks like sort of pink lumps. We don't know where that really came from. So the Good Food Institute is working to try and find alternative proteins, alternative ways that we can get meat. So one of those alternatives is plant-based meats. So that might be things like your Linda McCartney sausages, things like that, which are in the supermarkets and very, very popular. They're getting better all the time as well. Another alternative is fermentation proteins, so where you can basically use things like mushrooms or yeast to grow your meat. And a third alternative is where you actually don't use the animals at all. You grow your meat, but you grow it outside the animals. So you don't need that food, you don't need that land, you don't need the water, you don't need those antibiotics. And without having those animals all stuffed together, you can grow it at scale. You can feed potentially 10 billion people in the world by 2050. We need to find solutions that are alternatives to these really damaging systems that we've got at the moment. So as a charity, we're set up to try and accelerate the uptake of these types of proteins, these new, better ways of eating food. So we work with some really bright people in the science community. That might be people who are setting up labs or starting to do research to understand how to do this better. It might be working with corporations and companies, people like Nestle or Unilever or some of the big names that you've heard of. Also, some of the smaller startup organizations who are just figuring out the best thing for a new product. Together, we can work with them to accelerate, help them with their marketing, help them to identify opportunities to switch up some of their recipes, to take out some of the really horrible meat and put in some much better meat. And when I say better meat, I do mean the sort of plant-based and alternative meats rather than the factory farm stuff. Also, we could be working with big decision makers. The other day, Greta Thunberg retweeted us when we're calling for better labeling for things like plant-based milks. At the moment, there's a risk of those things going wrong in places like the European Union, because there's legislation in place which might make it really difficult to sell plant-based milk. You couldn't even use the word milk if you're talking about like soya milk or almond milk or some of the lovely oat milks and things that you can get now. So we also work with policymakers and decision makers to try to make it easier and quicker to get some of these products onto the market so that you and I can buy them, so that you and I can have healthier alternatives that are better for the animals, they're better for the planet, and they're also better for us. I think one of the biggest risks that we've seen the effects of over the last 12 months is obviously a pandemic. When you put chickens or pigs together in a really confined space, it's like a breeding ground for different viruses and bacteria. So there's something called avian flu, which can affect chickens. When you put too many together, it's a really dangerous situation. So there's a big risk that the next pandemic is going to come from factory farm chickens or factory farm pigs. So this is something we can tackle now. So in a strange way, whilst COVID has been really difficult for a lot of people in a lot of careers, actually alternative proteins is the growth area here. This is the alternative. And this is a space that really super bright people like you might be able to come along, find new products and find new exciting ways to make food in a way that actually helps the planet and a way that actually reduces the risks for all of us in the future as well. So that's what we try and do. We work with so many different people in all sorts of different aspects, whether it be policymakers, food makers, scientists, corporations, communications people, lots of different ways and lots of different people. So yeah, looking forward to seeing if you have any questions, but I think that's probably up for my time now.
Okay, just one quick question at the end of that. So on a daily basis, what's your actual role? What do you do specifically?
So my role is basically holding a lot of this stuff together. So as head of operations means our human resources, it means recruiting amazing people to this space. It means working with our finances and administration, making sure that we can legally operate in all of the countries in Europe that we need to. So I'm kind of like the engineer for the bus. As we're trundling along, I'm the person making sure that all the wheels are still turning, all the equipment is still safe, making sure that everyone is on board and is kind of going in the same direction.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so that was a good introduction. Over to you, Mimi, because I think it will be another interesting aspect into a career path that maybe wasn't really around, or at least not in the way that people think about, like Alex's, say about 5, 10, 15 years ago. So tell us about what you do, please.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll share my screen. Just bear with me a second.
Here's hoping the technology works.
Here's hoping technology actually works. Can you see that?
We can, yes.
Oh, perfect. As I said, I work for MVV Environment Baldovia and we're based in Dundee. So who are we? So MVV UK is part of MVV Energy Group in Germany, and we have approximately 6,000 employees with a 3.9 billion annual turnover. However, we are owned by the city of Mannheim. So we do come with that assurity that we are long-term and we're not going to disappear. We are here one day and then the next day we are not. So what we do operate, energy from waste facilities, and we have coal-powered plants in Germany which are being turned off because of the new policy that was set up. We have biomass. So biomass is the utilization of waste wood to generate electricity. We have biogas, and that's where when you have food waste, it goes there and some chemical reactions happen and we are able to generate energy from there, and gas. We do have wind as well. In Czech Republic, we provide what we call district heating, and this is basically where if you rent a house or if you buy a house, it comes with your bills included, especially heating and water, and you can get all of that as a package from us as a company, and it's quite popular in mainland Europe. And we also provide utilities. So what exactly is my role and what do I do on a daily basis? I educate people about the waste hierarchy. As an organization, we are quite set not only on doing the private part of it, of managing waste, taking in waste from councils and commercial operators. However, we do want to educate people on the waste hierarchy and the importance of the waste hierarchy. So we talk a lot about reducing the amount of waste that is generating. So it's all about reuse as much as possible, avoid creating waste, recycle more, and then we come in at the end. There are some items you cannot recycle. For example, once you use tissue, you're not going to recycle that. There are items which have reached end of life. So that's where we come in as an organization. We take it, and that's recover energy. So as an energy from waste facility, we take in waste that within each local area. In the UK, we have 3 facilities. I'm in Dundee, MVV Environment Baldovi. We also have a facility in Plymouth, MVV Environment Devonport, and we have a biomass facility in Kent. In Dundee and Plymouth, what we do, we take the waste, we burn it, and we're able to generate energy in form of electricity and steam. In Plymouth, we supply the steam to the dockyard. In Dundee, we were meant to supply the steam to Michelin. However, due to unforeseeable circumstances, Michelin shut down. However, we do still have the capability to provide steam. What we cannot burn, what we cannot utilize at the end of it, would go to landfill. Before energy from waste facilities became a thing or advocated for, all the waste we generated went into landfill. And therefore we come in to stop the amount of waste going to landfill. Therefore we are forming, we are that barrier in terms of protecting our environment. A lot of people are quite conscious and about skeptic when they say, when you burn, you produce smoke, so what do? We do have very stringent measures that we measure. We are controlled by CPAM in Scotland. That's the Scottish Environmental Protection Agencies. We have limits in the types of emissions we produce, and we rarely exceed those emissions. And therefore, when you pass our power plants, you see a plume. We don't call it a smoke. It's the white gas that you see at the end of a chimney, and it's a plume, and that's just steam, condensed steam. And whatever comes out of the chimney, believe it or not, is way cleaner than the air we're currently breathing. So we are very good for the environment. As I said, there are items that cannot be recycled, items that cannot be reused. So what is left over is what we burn. In Dundee, we burn approximately 100,000 tons of waste per year, and that is a lot of waste. In Plymouth, on the other hand, we burn 250,000 tons of waste. So that's a lot of waste that we do produce. And this is after all the efforts of people doing recycling and also reusing. As human beings, we are bound to always create waste. It is in our nature. Just as you eat food, at the end, there's a byproduct where you have to go to the bathroom. That's who we are. And no matter how much we do, there will always be waste. However, all the waste that we generate, we take in for conscious effort to reduce it, recycle it. And what's left, that's where we come in. We take care of that to produce energy. We will always need energy. So we come in and we provide effective energy. Right. So this is the current operating facility in Dundee, and we are building a new facility just around here, adjacent to it. The new facility will be more efficient in terms of how it handles waste. This old facility here processes waste in a different way as compared to the new one. In this old facility, we have what we call fluidized bed. Fluidized bed meaning when you take in the waste has to be chopped up and goes through and stored in this bunker here, which is called the RDF, refuse derived fuel, which is chopped up then before it's burnt. It's a long process and it's quite tiresome to operate. However, the new facility has what we call moving grate technology, and that just picks up the waste, drops it into the boiler where it's burnt. At the end of this, we do create waste from burning, just like when you have a big bonfire, you have ash at the end. Our waste is what we call aggregate, which can be recovered. We use aggregate for roads. That's what you see when they're building roads. It's for making cheap bricks as well. And also, we can recover metals and precious metals from the aggregate. We don't do that. We ship these off, what we call bottom ash. We ship it off to specialized companies who do all the sorting. And so we recycle again. So that's why we are very, very important for the community and the environment. So this is the process. You have here a lorry coming to take the waste. The waste is then grabbed by a hopper where it's dropped into the hopper. And this is the moving grate technology I was talking about, where it just moves like the penny machine when you go to maybe the beach, and it keeps on pushing it and it just pushes the waste and it burns. We burn waste at 1000 degrees Celsius. That's to ensure complete combustion. Then we have the boiler here. So we have the walls of the boiler aligned with what we call with pipes filled of water. So this water then get heated and goes, and that heat is what produces the steam with a lot of pressure that goes into the generator, and then we're able to produce electricity. The steam as well, we tap it at a certain point in the system and we're able to take out the steam, and that steam can be used for heating purposes. At the bottom, you have a conveyor belt here which collects bottom ash, and this is where we get items such as aggregate and precious metals, which are sorted in a different facility. Fly ash, however, cannot be recovered, and this is what is sent to landfill. Out of the whole process, out of 100,000 tons of waste that we burn every year, we only landfill about 4%, which comes out as waste. About me, so my inspiration. I am very passionate about educating and about peace. And I know that sounds as a bit of a cliche. However, to me, it's all about peace between human beings, and no matter who you are, where you're from, if you can get along together. Peace between humans and the environment. And this entails an active, conscious effort to preserve and enhance the environment we live in. Peace between humans and wildlife. So I come from Kenya, and the economy is driven by tourism. Therefore, I thought about what
Mimi, you're on mute.
Sorry, you've got on mute.
No,
You having
Mimi,
a
you're
problem?
still on mute. That's you now.
Okay. Sorry about that. Right. So about my challenges and successes, my biggest challenge is when I meet people who do not believe in energy from waste, who are quite critical about what we do as an organization. And my biggest success is when, after we have a conversation, I'm able to explain to you the whole process. You're able to come into our facility because we do provide tours for free. You look at how we do things. We're not secretive whatsoever. And I get to convert people and I get ambassadors. That is the best part of it. And then what do I love most about my job? I love the fact that I get to do my passion, which is educating and peace. I educate people on waste hierarchy.
I was going to ask a question that's related to what you were just speaking about, that's come up in
Yeah.
the chat. What are you most proud of that you've done so far? And I'll answer that to both of you.
So I'm proud of the fact that I got to where I'm doing a job that I love. And I think for everyone who's listening, you would understand that the importance of doing something that you're very passionate about. And every day is a lovely day for me. I go into the office, it's quite different. I'm also out and about speaking to people all the time. And that's, for me, is just, what do you call it? Creme de la creme. So that's my passion.
How about yourself, Alex?
I think for me, one of the things I'm most proud of was actually in a previous job doing a lot of lobbying and advocacy work, trying to make sure that that animals were kept safe. I had really unusually privileged access to get to speak to some very senior people around the world. And that was really special. It was something I was very proud of because I caused a lot of change and a lot of disruption to things which were very unpleasant. So that, I think, was something I was very proud of. Yeah, I think that's me.
So in my role, it can be classed as corporate social responsibility, which falls under public relations. So the key skills about my job are communication, research, public speaking, creative writing, and being confident. That's about it. You know, when you're confident, it doesn't matter. Sometimes you might be speaking and you might be, just saying anything, but you're very confident and it passes. As long as you can pass your message, that's the most important thing.
Okay. What about yourself, Alex?
I agree completely with Mimi. I think that confidence and the public speaking, things like that, are such important skills. For me, in my career, when I was studying as well, even at school, I always tried to choose the more general subjects rather than the more specialist subjects. And I'm really pleased that I did that. I think for me, choosing subjects like sociology and subjects like that which don't necessarily lend themselves directly to a career. I'm not studying medicine or something like that, which is very specialist. I studied things which would give me a really broad set of skills. I then did some teaching as well for a while. I did some international development work for a while. All of these are very general skills, and it means that I'm now really good at solving problems that come up. So one of the questions in the chat is about the hardest thing I've had to do. In this job, I have to run a charity in Belgium while I'm in the UK. I've never run a charity in Belgium before. I have no idea what Belgian charity rules and laws and regulations are, how to do accounts in Belgium. It's all totally new. But because I've had a really nice generalist, different kind of range of things, it means that I can roll up my sleeves and just start going, basically. I know roughly what I need to do, and I know how to get it done. So I think that's something which has been very important for me.
Okay, and we had a question as well about the impact you're making in the world. You're both doing jobs that could have a lot of impact. So what makes you most proud about that aspect of your job?
I love the fact that for a long time we've had a waste problem, and the problem has been people not just knowing what to do, when to do, how to do it. And my job has come in to help people make the right decision when it comes to waste, generating waste, reusing what you term as waste, and giving people that knowledge. Before I got into this field, I always say I didn't know what happened to waste. You know, I would do my sorting at home, and then I'll just come take my bin out, you know, and I'll be like, okay, fine, that's done. I'll pay my council tax and I'm relaxed. However, when I came into this role, and I thought, oh my goodness, so this is what actually happens. And I remember feeling very guilty about not knowing and not making a conscious effort to know. But then on the other hand, where would I have known this? So I come out and I'm very active, I'm very proactive in terms of, you know, using media, using the community, going to the community, talking to schools about it, inviting people to come and see our facility so that they can learn more about what we do, how we do it, and why we are important for the environment.
Okay. And can I ask the same of you, Alex, but can you give a very short answer because we're now at the end of the session?
Sure, thank you. Actually, my answer is very similar to Mimi. I can make my own choices about what I eat and the food which I buy. But actually, the idea of changing the pattern of how food is made, changing that at the very root, that means that if my team and I do our jobs well, we can literally save the lives of billions, literally billions of animals, especially if you include fish and things like that too. That's a pretty impressive thing to be doing. So that really drives me and my team and gets us very passionate about what we do.
Great. Well, thank you both very much for coming along and sharing your story. Apologies for the technical hitches there. And for everybody else that joined us, thank you very much.